What is up, everyone, and welcome back to the Triple H podcast happy hour hoops. And it's NBA playoff time. We have playoff basketball for the foreseeable future. We love it. We're here for it. A weekend filled with it, starting with play-in games. Then it got right into the action on Saturday. Followed it up with some more games Sunday. And look, guys, I know there were some blowouts. I know there were some lopsided games, some maybe obvious chalky games, but it was just game one of all these series. That's why they're 7-game series. That's why it's the first round. We got to work some of these kinks out, and that's what a lot of the game ones where I felt some probably just some overpowered higher seeds. Sure, I'm with you there, but then there's some other games where teams just got to figure some stuff out. They got to get smacked in the face. But we are going to start with the Orlando Magic and the Detroit Pistons. Orlando leads Detroit 1-0 because this is the most polarizing series because Orlando happened to be the most polarizing team of the weekend, even going into this game, because we had the play-in tournament where in their first game against Philly, it just looked like this team did not want to be here at all. And then they just beat the absolute piss out of the Charlotte Hornets to survive the play-in, get in, and that punched their ticket to be the 8th seed to play the Detroit Pistons, who everyone was starting to talk about as this no one believes in us team. And now here we are, Jake. Obviously, we know not to react after one game, but just what the hell is going on in Orlando? Paulo, playoff riser, play-in faller. Like I don't even know how to diagnose this team, these players. But we do have Orlando up 1-0 over the Detroit Pistons. Let's start there.
If I would have told you before the season, if I would have said, "Oh, hold on one second, I want to get set up here because I think I'm on the wrong one." All right, can you hear me now? If I would have told you before the regular season that Orlando and Detroit were playing in a playoff series, and Orlando handily took game one and looked like the more physical, the more skilled, the better prepared team, would you have been surprised by any bit in the slightest, knowing everything we knew about both these teams coming into the year, where we were kind of, and both these teams, I think we were both, and all, I think the collective NBA public was high on, taking a leap coming into the season in the Eastern Conference and looking at the state of the Eastern Conference where people thought it might be, as these teams maybe potentially taking a step and everything else. But specifically that Orlando team, we talked a lot about it. And Franz Wagner got hurt again. And I think that was everybody, there was a lot of talk during the year about what's wrong with Orlando. He only played 34 games this year, 32 of them. I mean, whatever you want to say about Paulo, I personally think Franz is the better player on that team and is their edge and does kind of a little bit of everything. And Paulo's talked about as much of anything as it seems like he wants a guy. He doesn't want to be, guy with the ball in his hands with making decision what to do with it all the time. He wants to be that scorer who gets set up, who gets put into better positions. I just think the way Franz looked on Sunday yesterday was a problem for Detroit with the skill level that he brings. And it opened up, you brought up that Banchero thing with Franz kind of going like that. And the two of them working as a tandem, they're so much harder to defend. And then you add in, a Desmond Bane providing that shooting threat and everything else. It just feels like we haven't seen a full strength Orlando team in like the last 2 years, really. Like they've had all these key injuries on and off. And right now they're not fully healthy, but they're pretty healthy. The key guys are healthy. And that looked like, I'm not trying to overreact, but that looked like a team that could sustain this. I'm not saying they're going to win this series, but would I be surprised if it goes 6-7 games at this point? No. In Detroit, here's the Detroit side of it, Dunny, is I am a known JV Bickerstaff hater. I was not confident in his coaching ability in Cleveland. Wasn't confident in it going into this series. I have a little stat for you, Dunny. JB Bickerstaff is now 9-20 in the playoffs as a coach, 2-5 as the Pistons head coach. not inspiring when you're under 50%, actually under like a 30% win percentage as a head coach with the number 1 seed. And there's not a lot of options. The one biggest complaint we could complain about with this team, with Detroit, and we could nitpick and everything. Who's the secondary? We talked about before the playoffs. Who's going to secondary score outside of Cade? Like if Cade is getting, manhandled, who are they going to go to try to create something? Because Duran wasn't having a great, like you saw the issues with him being that secondary option yesterday. And then you look down the bench and it's like, hey man, like I saw a Pistons fan tweet today. They're like, we're going to need MJ Karis LeVert 4 out of 6 games or something. Like when you're talking about when Pistons fans are saying we need Karis LeVert to step up to win a playoff series, I'm a little worried for what.
And shame on them for not knowing by now that
shame
Karis
on
LeVert.
Them. He fools
Karis
everybody,
LeVert,
Dunny. He really does.
They come few and far between these games. They're once in a blue moon, and you do not get a say in when they happen. So shame on that Detroit fan for thinking that that's something they can just muster up, because Karis LeVert will do it at some point. He'll do it again, I'm sure, before he retires. But you do not get to decide when they happen. But it's so true, man. Like Cade Cunningham, 39 points yesterday, and it wasn't enough against a Magic team where, you would have thought the way people were talking about them, even after they beat the Hornets, fluky, Hornets weren't ready. They played down to the Magic. But here we are, man, and you bring up some good points with Franz. And it's funny because watching the first play-in game on Wednesday, when the Magic kind of got punked, like Franz looked pretty bad. And here they are against Detroit, one of the better teams in the league this year, the team that almost won 60 games, or they did win 60 games. And, he's able to do what he does and score the ball. Everyone looked pretty good. They kind of shared the rock yesterday. I'm looking at all 5 starters here, 15-plus points. Yeah, so just a weird one, but like you say, it's not super surprising when you see an outcome like this, and then you grab the box score and you take a look, and this is what we have. Like 39 points for Cade. The next closest is Tobias Harris on 5-15 shooting with 17, 1 of 7 from 3. Philly fans will tell you that's not enough to get it done, and it just isn't. So here we are. Well, you just said it. You think you wouldn't be surprised if this goes 6 or 7 games. You still have Detroit coming out of this?
I really want to pick Orlando. I think I'm just going to pick Orlando in 7 because I that was really, it wasn't a fluke win. Like it wasn't like they went crazy on 3 or anything. It felt like Orlando was playing their game and was just better. I'm just going with Orlando. I'm not betting on Jamie Bickerstaff. So you're asking me. And if we would have made the preview last week, none of us would have picked Detroit or picked Orlando in the series. We all would have just been like, Detroit's going to, handle their business. We're mad that Orlando's even in. We wish the Hornets would have won. But maybe we should have seen the sign, is that when Orlando's back was finally against the wall on that Friday night against Charlotte, they played their best game of the year, their most complete game of the year. And that says something about a group. Like, and I think we all kind of just were like, all right, whatever. Like it's the 8-9 seed. It's a play-in game. Who cares? But I think it showed some mettle, and they carried that, whatever that did for them on Friday, carried it into Sunday. And at the very least, they're going to make it an interesting series. It's going to make at least one interesting series on this side of the bracket, at least. Yeah.
No, I'm probably sticking with Detroit, but I like it. And the only reason is because it's funny you asked me, how would I be feeling if you told me that at the beginning of the year, and you kind of alluded to it, but man, I was high on the Orlando Magic. I said they were going to be a top 4 seed as one of my bold predictions. They screwed me. They barely make the playoffs, so I'm like, oh, I'm out on this team. I was completely wrong. Then I'm watching yesterday. I'm like, this is the team I thought we were going to have, man.
Yep.
Where there's some size. Paulo has, a little more polished, and he looks great in the playoffs. And we saw that. But, yeah, I do think Detroit just kind of punched in the mouth, wasn't ready for Orlando. I think they figured some things out, but this could be trouble. This could be trouble. Big game 2. Big game 2 in this series. for Detroit. But yeah, I just had to start there. Orlando so polarizing this weekend, and then of course they upset Detroit too. And it was so funny, like all weekend, or pretty much like since the regular season concluded, I was feeling pretty good about the Celtics. I'm like, I don't feel like I'm overlooking Detroit, but I understand that they're still good, and was so trying to be like very level headed about that. And then the last couple days leading up to Sunday, like Friday, Saturday, I was like, oh, I don't know. The Detroit 1 seed, like maybe I'm not respecting them enough. They did win 60 games this year. Maybe I'm too high on the Celtics. And then they come out and do this yesterday. And so now I really don't know where my head's at as a fan right now, but as an overall observer, that was one of the crazier games of the weekend. So shout out to Orlando Magic, and we'll see what happens in game 2. Let's just go back to chronological order now. So
Okay.
we'll start with your Cavs. We take a 1-0 lead. This was a nice afternoon matchup. I don't know how much of it or if you were able to watch live or not, but I liked the uniform matchup. The Cavs kind of wearing that old school uni, and then Toronto, like it just looked good, felt good. It wasn't like one of these 1 seed or 2 seeds playing in the game. It was a good way to open up the Saturday playoffs. And the first thing I put in our notes here, man, is the Cavs just looked a little more put together than we saw during the regular season, and I don't think that's a mistake. You kind of alluded to this the last couple of weeks, that this team was probably just kind of coasting till they reached the playoffs, and it seemed like that because Saturday they looked like a well-oiled machine.
Well, the biggest thing I think that cannot be understated is Jared Allen came back. And I didn't think I'd be saying that coming into the playoffs, but they have been such a different team when he's on the floor, especially with James Harden, that chemistry that they just have had. It's been automatic really since James stepped on the court with this team. And then they had it for a couple weeks, and then Allen went out with his knee tendonitis. But having him back just changes the complexion of, especially offensively, what they can do, and just everybody kind of fits better into the roles and knows where they're at and everything. But it was the biggest thing, and I can't remember who pointed it out. Reading a couple articles after the game and everything, the Cavs had like 2, 3, 4 lineups that they had never used during this, like 0 minutes together during the season, that they threw out there on Saturday. And I think that just kind of tells where this team is at. Obviously, bringing Harden in was a big change, but they didn't just bring Harden in. They brought Keon Ellis in. They brought Dennis Schroeder in, moved some guys around. Jalen Tyson really stepping into a role for the first time this year in his first big playoff minutes. And he, was questioned, like, is he going to play? Are those guys, lower on the bench? Because the Cavs play everybody. Like, the Cavs play a deep bench. Are they going to play everybody? Played 10 men in the first half. Excuse me. Went with a lot of different looks on this Toronto team. The biggest issue, though, has been defensively for Cleveland since they added Harden. And I think a lot of that was with Allen's injury, too, just because Allen and Mobley together create such a strong defensive presence. But they figured out a new plan. It was just a lot different this time around. Dean Wade had a big role defensively. He was basically on Ingram all game long, trying to manage that situation. I think Dean Wade as a ball stopper, like defender, we've seen it happen, and it's weird to think about, but the analytics show he's one of the best in the NBA. So deploying him in that way was really helpful. I think that the team just, with the different lineups, and Kenny is still kind of mismatching and everything, it makes it difficult to know what to expect from the Cavs, but that also makes them hard to prepare for, right? And the thing is, they have so much talent on this roster. Like, this is it's a championship level talented roster if they put things together. And that kind of showed against the Toronto team. But honestly, I just think the Toronto team just overmatched. It's going to be hard for them if they can't get Ingram or, Scotty into the 30s, 35 around range. It's going to be tough for that team to keep up with Mitchell and Harden and Allen. And, Strus had a really big game on Saturday shooting the ball. Like, the Cavs just have so many options that Toronto is really going to have to keep the pace up. And they did it at the beginning of the game. And then in the second half, it was like that. Like, the third quarter, it was a 20-point lead in the blink of an eye, about 5 minutes. So I was really encouraged with, I think that Atkinson just has so much at his disposal that he could use, and that we just haven't seen it yet because there's been so many injuries towards the end of the year. But I'm encouraged. I really don't think Toronto should be in the like my doubt in the Cavs is just past playoff exits, PTSD more than anything. They're so much better than this Toronto team, and I think they showed that in game one. Oh, Dunny, mute monster.
Tough one. Monday recording. But no, I'm glad you brought up Strus being kind of a big factor yesterday too, because like you mentioned, Allen obviously was out for a while. That Strus, like, it seems like every time I checked in on Cavs fans on Twitter, they were just all so curious when Strus was going to come back and wonder how Tatum returned before Strus could and what was this mystery injury. But he's back and he's doing Strus things, man. Like, you touched on it. They have depth. They have just a really good, solid roster. And I think with the trade and the injuries this regular season, that was something like simplicity wise that you couldn't just appreciate about this roster because there was all these other moving parts. And now Harden's on the roster and Garland's gone, so we have to get the jokes in there and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, this is a team that won a lot last year. They have playoff experience up and down the roster, and yeah, like, this is just a good squad. And like you said, probably a little too much for Toronto to handle. It seems like it was going to be closer at the start of the game yesterday. Jamal Shed was hitting some shots in the place of quickly, and it was going back and forth there a bit. But yeah, Cavs just too good, pulled away. I expect similar things to happen. I wouldn't be surprised if the Toronto grabs one, maybe two, but I think Cavs take care of business here.
Yeah, I would hope so. And now, like, Cavs fans are already looking way too far ahead. But that Detroit-Orlando series, no matter how it goes, I think seeing Detroit look like that in game one and knowing, we've had success over Orlando in the playoffs in the past and just that matchup, Cavs fans are feeling pretty good if they can get out of this series relatively unscathed and Orlando and Detroit go to war for 6-7 games where it's like, okay, like both those teams don't look superhuman. Like the path to honestly, if the Cavs they sweep Toronto and Orlando, Detroit go 7, like, are the Cavs going to be betting favorites in the Eastern Conference semis? Like, I think it'd probably be pretty close, honestly, and they might be the favorites. So you had to be feeling good if you're a Cavs fan after the weekend's events. That's for sure.
Yeah, and something I did not have on my bingo card was Jared Allen taking one dribble from the 3-point line and going through like every Toronto Raptor in the first quarter and dunking on them. That was absolutely insane. But yeah, shout out the Cavs, man. They got it done. That was one of those games where, yeah, kind of obvious result. Like, I think everyone thought Cleveland was going to win, but I think there'll be a few interesting games in there. But we'll see. Scotty, RJ, Ingram, those guys got to step up for Toronto because definitely not enough. Moving right along, Denver Nuggets lead the Minnesota Timberwolves 1-0 in their series. You talked about war, Jake, and maybe that's what happens with Orlando and Detroit. But if these two teams come together, you almost guaranteed a war. Nothing easy from any of the star players in this game, even though Joker and Ant make everything look easy. Look, Denver takes game one. I think a lot of people would say they're the better team. I would not be discouraged if I was a Timberwolves fan right now, though. I think they played hard. They played tough. Ant-Man, when he's right, he's right. And I think, the NBA playoffs and that Orlando versus Detroit game is just an obvious reaction that anything can happen. And I think anything can happen in this series. So obviously, Denver, they got the win with the Joker. He had a lowly triple-double. It wasn't anything crazy for our man Joker, but he did have another triple-double. And Denver got it done. But I don't know. Part of me watching that game I was like, I don't know. As this series goes on, are we going to see Ant elevate like he did a couple years ago in the first round? But where are you at with this one? I can't figure it out. I think I would still take the Nuggets in 7, but something about Anthony Edwards in this Timberwolves team, I can't quit.
I'm completely with you. I'm not concerned. I think we did it a couple weeks ago where it was like under the radar teams we think could win the NBA title or go to the finals, and I was just fully on board with this Minnesota team. There's just a toughness to them. I think Ant absolutely can elevate, and uh, I think there was some room to grow from that game one throughout this series for Ant. I think he was pretty good, but especially there was a lot to clean up from that Minnesota side. It wasn't a clean game from them at all. Jokic has a triple double. He does his thing. They're in this game though. Like they were in it the whole way through. The score I think at the end makes it look like a bigger deficit than it was. Minnesota was battling. It felt like the same as the last couple of years, these heavyweight battles we've gotten used to with these two teams. So I'm not counting out Minnesota here. I think that there's just too many answers, and we've seen them battle in these series and just stay afloat. It's just part of their DNA. It's part of Edwards' DNA. So I think that they're still in a good spot. You got to split one of these on the road. That's what they got to do. They didn't get it done game one. They have a chance tonight, game two, to get it done. We'll see what happens, but it doesn't feel like this is out of reach for them at all. I think this is a very even series down the middle with what the supporting cast still offer. But Ant is going to have to elevate because Jokic he's just going to do what he does. And you need to have a guy who is scoring and facilitating, maybe not at that level because it's hard to reach that level for anybody in NBA history, but to be comparable, to allow your supporting cast to make a difference. That the only guy that on Minnesota, there's no second star, right, for Minnesota to be able to do that. Like Ant he's got to be able to take a series on his shoulders and push them through at any point with this team. Like not just in this series, but like if this iteration and Ant's going to be on the Wolves and they're going to get it done, he has to play outside himself and have one of the best stretches we've ever seen from a guard in NBA history to get it done. So that's putting a lot on him, but I feel like that's kind of where he needs to be to get through this Western Conference and get through this series even. So it's all there for him. No reason to panic if you're a Timberwolves fan, but it's going to be a challenge. And I wonder how much, we've seen this year, not trying to bring drama into it or anything else, but we've seen this year, Anthony Edwards waking whispers. There's been rumors about Ant. Like, does he want to be in Minnesota for forever? All these things, like rumblings we haven't ever heard starting to come out. Not saying that anything's set in stone, but you got to wonder if a first round exit, what that would do to those things coming out of it and where Ant's head is at to begin with. So I'm interested to see how he responds and how they respond tonight.
Yeah, and it just kind of goes to show you that there's plenty of people out there that think the NBA regular season's not that important and it's too long and all that good stuff. And whereas some of that might be true, it's important to win a lot of games because if you don't win as many as you'd like to, sometimes you end up playing the Denver Nuggets in the first round. And, you say first round exit for the Timberwolves. If that happens, who knows what happens with the drama and the asking out and all that stuff. It's pretty crazy when you have to deal with Jokic in the first round. So it's a tough task. One of these good teams has to make it out of the first round. The thing that sucks for me too is, and I hope it's not as bad as people are talking about. People are talking about it, so it's probably bothering them at least in some degree. But I just keep seeing that Edwards' knee still isn't right, and maybe that's why we see a little bit of the shooting struggles or what. He still had a near triple double of his own yesterday, but I think we've yet to see the best of Ant in this series for sure. Obviously, it was only game one. But I think someone like Randall or Ayu or DiVincenzo is going to need to step up too because Jokic and Murray are going to be ready to do it every night. So this is one where I'm hoping goes 7, at least 6 games. Still have a weird feeling about Minnesota, but not surprised at all if Denver wins. I think just for playoff rounds in the future for the semis and the conference finals, selfishly I would want Jokic to move on, but can't go ahead and pick a winner in this one yet. I need to see Ant in Minnesota one more game. let's move on. New York Knicks lead the Atlanta Hawks 1-0. Got it done at MSG. At halftime, I did live bet the Hawks. I thought I saw something. I didn't. It got worse in the second half for Atlanta. I wrote this down. I like what you wrote down better, but do the Hawks have a fighting chance in this series?
Doesn't seem like it, right?
Yeah.
Kaminga was horrible.
Which is,
Horrible.
he's such a weird guy, man. It was, he sucked in Golden State, and everyone was like, oh, at first it was like, this guy sucks. And it was like, oh, maybe Kerr is just kind of keeping him in the dust, and we haven't been able to see his full potential. And then he goes to the Hawks, and he was lighting it up for 2 weeks.
I was gonna say, yeah, it was a good honeymoon too. It was like, oh, he's unlocked everything, and I think Atlanta started to believe he's unlocked. Like Quinn Snyder was like, okay, we got Jonathan Kuminga now. Like, let's get him involved. Let's get him going. It was too much, and I don't know if that was the game plan, Dunny, or if that was Jonathan Kuminga saying it's Jonathan Kuminga time as much as anything else too. It might have been too empowered, but it was too much. Too much, but it's part of the problem too, because look at, like, he has to be that involved offensively and on the court and everything. They don't have a lot of options offensively, and when you're playing this Knicks team, it's just so hard. They're gonna have to drag them down into gross games in the 90s. When you're CJ McCollum should, I'm looking at the box score now again, quick. 20 shots, 11 of 20 for CJ. That's great. Awesome game. You'll take that. But the fact that they're banking on CJ McCollum to put up, 26 on 11 of 20 as a playoff team, it scares me. It really scares. That's a 34-year-old 6'2" guard. That just doesn't work usually in the NBA. So
yeah, Jalen Johnson should be taking like 5 of those shots away from him.
Yeah, for sure. It's just weird. It's a weird looking team. I think they're a year early, Atlanta. And I think we thought, we've had, Atlanta, New York a couple years ago, Trae Young of it all, but Trae Young's not here anymore, obviously. But just the rivalry, the juice, everything else. I think this Knicks team is just, they're just too deep. The starting lineup and the top 5, 6 that are going compared to Atlanta's top 6 is just, the talent discrepancy is way too big. I think this Knicks team's going to have an easy time this series.
Yeah, I feel similarly. Zach Richer, I think there's too many other bad number 1 picks to say that he could be the worst of all time. But it's not a good start, man. He's
not near the top.
He played 2 minutes yesterday for a number 1 pick 2 years removed on a team that we just talked about. They don't have many options and guys to go to and scorers and all this stuff. And I understand sometimes it takes a little longer for, guys to get in the feel of things and get into their own and become their own pro and all that good stuff. But this is a guy who's 21 years old, 6'8", 200 pounds. He looked good coming into the league. Obviously, he was the number 1 pick. And I got nothing. He gives me more question marks than Jonathan Kuminga does. So the Hawks have some stuff to figure out. I'm kind of with you, though. I think the Knicks overpower. I would kind of be surprised if Atlanta gets one. Maybe, we'll record this and then Atlanta will win tonight.
Like by 20 or something.
Now that I say that, but
Kuminga will have 30 points. Yeah,
New York should be able to handle business here. They just the forwards alone, but pretty much at all positions they have a clear advantage. And then you mentioned it, just not a lot of depth for Atlanta and a bunch of depth for the Knicks. So Knicks should handle business. They have the Hawks again tonight at MSG. Los Angeles Lakers. Maybe besides the Orlando Magic, the biggest upset, I guess you could call it, of the weekend. I think they did end up being underdogs by like 2.5 points by the time this game rolled around. And that's because Kevin Durant just decided – well, the Rockets decided, I'm sure, maybe it was Kevin Durant on his own, that he wasn't playing. Healthy all week. Played the end of the regular season. Think there was videos of him warming up. Sports Center posted something about him warming up, and then just not too long before tip off, DNP for Kevin Durant. The Rockets lose.
Yeah.
Looked
So about
pretty
an
ugly.
hour ago, apparently he suffered his knee contusion diving for a loose ball at practice and bumping into a teammate.
Brutal stuff.
I love the effort, but what are you diving for a
Yeah.
loose ball in practice 2 days before the playoff starts? Like, just let that loose ball go, Kevin. Like, it'll be okay.
I'm genuinely like having trouble even picturing Kevin Durant diving for a loose ball.
It feels like a
in
lie, to be
practice.
honestly. Like,
Yeah.
it feels like he like bumped his knee really hard in the hotel room or something, and that was it more than anything. It was weird though.
God.
Do you think it's do you buy that this is a conspiracy by the NBA forcing Kevin Durant to sit because they want Luka and Austin Reeves back in this series? They paid off Kevin.
Man.
They're like, Kevin, you're a mercenary anyways, bro. Help us with some TV ratings here. You know, this game 1 was Saturday. You know when game 2 is? It's not tonight. It's not tomorrow night. Wednesday night, game 2. And then I think there's Saturday night again. They are milking this series as long as they can.
See, I was going to completely just breeze off that argument until you just told me the schedule.
The schedule's the
man.
crazy
What
part.
Are we doing?
The fact that game 2 is not till Wednesday after Saturday, like they're what?
How,
so
bro?
Houston's just spending 4 nights in LA just chilling. For what? For what? Yeah. So
and now they can make the argument that, you know, oh, well, Durant gets to rest up too, so it's good for both teams.
Yeah, exactly. Game time decision
dude.
for Durant.
See, I didn't think I was gonna come in here and start thinking about Lakers conspiracies, but that's exactly what you got.
I think they're definitely conspiring with the schedule, like to help Luka get back. That's got to be
the schedule.
How about LeBron and Bronny? I wish Steve was
Very
here right
cool.
now to talk about Bronny.
I would be interested to hear
game.
his thought on this because this was pretty damn cool.
But it was, I mean, not a lot. Like the issues that Houston has, Dunny, is everything we've talked about them all year. They don't have a point guard, and they like without Kevin Durant on the floor, it's really ugly offensively for them. I don't even think it mattered who they were playing against. Like the Lakers are a good defensive team. I think it's clear at this point. JJ Redick, with his limited lineups he can use with this Lakers team defensively, has been able to put together a good defense for the last couple of years. I think the guy just knows how to. I think JJ just knows how to coach in general, honestly, and I think he put together a good defensive plan. No matter what, but this Houston, I don't think it would have mattered. I think Houston could have played, Brooklyn, and I think they would have had trouble, putting the basket. What am I trying to say? Putting the ball in the basket.
Having as much trouble as the Rockets.
Yeah, exactly. They're getting to me because it just looks so disjointed, and there's nobody really running that offense in any kind of real way. And Durant's kind of the table setter, which is the crazy thing to say. So without him, it just looked really disjointed. And LeBron did not try to do too much, but he got guys. He was the exact opposite, where he was table setting perfectly for the Lakers for what they needed, and just knowing his guys' strengths and where to put them in position. Because it's going to be hard for them to come by points throughout this series too, obviously. Luke Kennard, I don't think you can expect that kind of performance, but that's why they traded for him, was to have that kind of performance and step up when they needed him to. So really, really cool. I thought it was a cool game to see LeBron in this kind of, like, what's he going to look like in this series at this age? And it wasn't, classic Terminator LeBron, but it was still queen of the chessboard. Like, everything was going through him in this game. He kind of dictated the pace and dictated everything. And this lead, this series could very well go 7, and Durant missing that one game could be the biggest difference in it, because I think these teams are pretty evenly matched. If Durant's out, obviously, even with Durant in, I think the Lakers can still muck it up and hang around with this Houston team. But if Reeves comes back game 3 or 4, or Luka comes back game 5, it's going to be tough for Houston to score with this team. So
Yeah, I mean, Houston just desperately needs for KD to be good and the other, the other two guys to have a slower recovery, because I just think that without the pressure, with the lack of pressure that Houston brings, I think the Lakers can kind of do exactly what they need to with a weakened roster, where LeBron can be that floor general that he's grown into and has become so good at. I mean, it's not new that LeBron knows how to pass, and where he's going to be, taking a lot of the attention anyway with Luka and Reeves both out. It actually makes the passing that much easier for him. If he sees any double, he's going to hit the open guy every time. Now is, Marcus Smart, Luke Kennard, Rui, guys like that, are they going to be able to score every night? Probably not, but against a Rockets team who's fighting in their own right for star power at this moment and guard play, that might be where it works. So it was cool. I enjoyed watching this game. This was one of the funner watches, I thought, just because of the chaos and like, okay, what's LeBron going to do here? Who steps up for Houston? Spoiler, no one. But it was an interesting game. It just, this is one where like you don't even feel comfortable saying one way or another, because it all depends on when people come back. But gun to my head, I would say Lakers, because I think Luka and Reeves are going to come back at some point, and that was just massive that they stole that first game. So gun to my head, I'm taking Lakers in this game, or in this series. Sorry,
it's crazy, man. I can't believe we're here. If they make it through here, which none of us really would have thought is possible.
Nope.
I mean, the world's, who knows with that OKC series. I don't know for sure, but we'll see.
Yeah. So moving right along, Boston, my Celtics take a 1-game lead over the Philadelphia 76ers. The Boston crowd let the Philly crowd know how it's done. And with probably 7 minutes to go, maybe like 5 minutes, there's still a decent amount of time on the clock. I don't think anyone thought Philly was going to make a comeback, but a little ballsy by the Boston crowd. They started chanting, "We want Boston," obviously mocking the 76ers fans who were chanting that Friday night when they moved on and got their playoff spot from the play-in. But look, I wasn't super worried about this series, but it's still, this season has not allowed me to get all the way there where I'm just automatically thinking getting to the championship, because it's such a weird one, man. I've gotten on this podcast, of talked to them blue in the face about how good the Jays are and what a season Missoula's had and all that stuff. So I don't want to do that. But curious to hear your side of this, Jake. Like, is everyone else in the East, or who's a fan of an Eastern Conference team, just like, yeah, Boston's moving on, or where are you at as a Cavs fan?
So I don't think
Sixers have any hope, I guess.
The Sixers? Oh no, they're done. I never thought the Sixers had any hope.
Right.
I mean, you might be asking the wrong Cavs fan, because I think you guys are going to the NBA Finals and have been before that matchup. And I've been saying it, honestly, I've been saying it most of the year. If Tatum was coming back and he was healthy, like, that's the best team in the East. There it is. And that's where we're at this point. And yeah, I was honestly very impressed by Celtics fans yesterday, because that was the Jason and Jalen, like, dream, not a dream game even. It's not like it was like they were putting up 40 each or whatever, but they were back. Like, they both looked themselves. They looked their normal, healthy selves. It didn't even look like the Celtics were really in like second gear at all in this game. Like, and they didn't really need to. It was it's. This team is overmatched. I'm hard pressed to think the Knicks or the Cavs or the Pistons or the Magic or anybody else can really beat this team 4 different times. And it's the defensive intensity And we talk about a coach who knows how to coach defense. Like Joe Mazzulla clearly knows how to put together a top tier, top flight defense, no matter who his personnel is. But with getting Tatum back, they have elite options all over the floor on that side of the ball. And it just made Philly's life miserable offensively. And, you know, welcome to the playoffs, VJ Edgecombe, right? Like that kind of situation. Like, see you from the playoffs, Paul George. Looked like he had no business being on the floor with those two top flight wings who we would have seen, you know, we would have thought he would match up with them in years past. He had no chance doing that. And it just made Maxi's life so much more difficult that his running mates really couldn't get anything going against this defense. So yeah, I might be in the minority. I don't think Philly has a chance in this series. And if you had to ask me to put a bet on it, bet my life on it, I'm picking the Celtics to go to the NBA Finals. And it would be really interesting to see how West team deals with the Celtics, honestly, because I don't think any of these West teams have the wings that the Celtics have, the wing options. It's this team fully healthy is the best team in the East. I think if they would have just lost, say they just lost in the play, like everything's the same. The Celtics lose to the Knicks, but Tatum doesn't get hurt and come into this year. Wouldn't the Celtics have just been the NBA the title favorites again? Like that's pretty much what it would have been. So that's how I feel about them now.
Yeah, no, it's fair enough. And it's funny because it could go either way because the team could look very different or they still could make all these offseason money moves and the roster gets worse. But,
yeah,
you know, you see what Joe did with a bunch of kind of minimum guys and here they are. But, yeah, I think the weirdest thing for me, because I expected the Celtics to come out hot. I expected them to be ready. I anticipated a big Tatum game. I told all my gambling buddies, I said, you know, all the Tatum props today. And that worked out great for everyone who participated. But the biggest surprise to me was just like the lack of energy or like caring from the Philly side. It did not look like the Sixers were playing inspired ball. You mentioned VJ Edgecombe. It's a good point, rookie. But this is also the same rookie who scored at the time, career high in his first game, 34 points against the Boston Celtics in the opener on the road. So VJ has game. Maxey usually gets up big time to play against the Celtics. That wasn't there. And then, you know, you have it here, like PG stinks. Like, are we just back to playoff P?
Yep.
And not really getting much from him.
It's just washed P at this point. Like, what is he even going to do for them?
Yeah. And it's tough because, like, he has his moments, right? Like, there's a couple step back threes. I'm like, oh, yeah, that looked like vintage Paul George. But like, that doesn't mean he can keep JB or JT in front of him. So it's tough. And then who knows with Embiid? I really haven't heard much at all about Embiid's status. I'll actually just do a quick search here to see if anything new comes up. But I haven't heard much about Embiid. So, yeah, I felt pretty confident about this series, no matter who the Celtics were going to end up playing. And, you know, I feel pretty similar. So we'll see what happens there. Game 2 tomorrow night. I will be in the building.
So, hey, there we go. Dunny.
I know.
I'm not gonna say this is gonna happen, but I will probably bet the Sixers spread again, just in case.
You should. People should be betting the Sixers spread tomorrow that I'm going to be in the building. I did. The last game I went to, the Celtics won, so I broke the curse.
You did break it, yeah.
I'm allowed to go back. Okay. It was a very kind gesture from my girlfriend. She claimed that she told me she was going to buy me Celtics tickets for my birthday, and I never picked a game. So I was like, okay, like, well, regular season's over. So, so that was awesome. Shout out to her. But yeah, it'll be a good one. I think Celtics handle business. Hopefully we'll win tomorrow. And we'll go from there. This one, we don't have to spend too much time on. The Oklahoma City Thunder lead the Phoenix Suns 1-0. OKC just did everything right, man. Windhorse was ranting about it on First Take this morning. I believe they had 34 points off turnovers compared to 2 for the Phoenix Suns. So, I mean, just that discrepancy alone, the Suns are not going to win basketball games. Everyone can defend on OKC. Everyone can knock down shots on OKC. They're a juggernaut. And it's funny. The one thing I do want to say about Phoenix, and it's crazy to say this after the game he had yesterday because he kind of took a big step back. During their play-in game against Golden State. So what day was that? That was Friday.
Yeah.
I might be back in on Jalen Green. I might be doing a little Jalen Green dance right now.
Oh.
I know. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I mean, he went off. I know what it is. He went off on that Friday night. 36 points, 8 of 14 from 3, 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 steals, 3 blocks. Like, he just looked like that athlete that the Rockets drafted who was like, holy shit, like, this guy can legitimately play. And I just wondered, and the Suns figured it out a little bit this year. Like, I think they did a good job with the roster that they had. Some would still argue that like someone saved Booker. You could say that, but for what they had and what they're coming off last year and losing Durant and all that stuff, I think that the Suns did a pretty good job. And I can't quit Jalen Green yet after that game he showed us in the play-in. Didn't really step up against OKC, but no one really does. So OKC is a juggernaut, and I've decided I haven't given up on Jalen Green, are my 2 updates for this series.
I like it. I don't have much more to add. I don't think Phoenix has much of a shot here. The fact that they're here is a win for the season because this team, no one expected them to be why I can't speak today. Contending, contributed, whatever. No one expected them to be in contention. That's the word I was looking for a playoff spot. If they would have been avoiding the play-in would have been huge for them. It was a tough ask, but they were in that battle almost to the end of the year. Kind of fell out of it towards the end, but a lot to be proud of for Phoenix going forward. But yeah, this is OKC just gonna run through this.
Sad times for Devin Booker. Do we see Devin Booker on our new team next year?
He seems to like it. Like he seems to like Phoenix and just likes like the reports have always been about Book that he likes being the guy. He likes the city, likes being the guy, likes the idea of being like one of those one franchise for this whole career guys. Like, so it seems happy. Like it's got to be good. Like seems like it's fun to live in Phoenix, good city. Or just in Arizona in general, everything's close by. Quick flight to LA for a guy like Devin Booker too. It's just, I think it's a good situation for him. They're clearly trying to win. Like it's not like they're like actively tanking ever or anything. Like right now, this team's trying to win. Like they're trying to build up. They made that Durant trade with the thought of getting a Jalen Green, thinking, okay, like we know we might be taking a step back now, but this is going to be for 2 steps forward in the future. Like that's the way they're looking at all this. They're not looking to rebuild. And I think that they're going to be a really interesting team in the offseason. If they lose this series and go out, like, are they on the Giannis sweepstakes? Are they trying to swing for another star to get Devin Booker some help there? Because they're in a position where they have some pieces they can move, and they're a really good team with a great young coach. So,
yeah. No, I'm with you. It's a good point too, because you think about Book and you think about him already getting to a finals, and you're like, does that make him want to stay around more because he's already been there, or he got a taste of it and lost, and now he's like, shit, my time might be running out. Not saying that Devin Booker's old or anything, but he's right around that 30 number. He probably thought about it from time to time, but yeah. We'll see. I hope we get like one Devin Booker explosion game or a Dylan Brooks game where he just absolutely fucks everything up and we see some chaos. Because that shit yesterday was devastating for Suns fans. All right, last series because we already did Orlando, Detroit. San Antonio 1-0 start over the Portland Trailblazers in their series. Wemby had 35 points on 5 of 6 shooting from 3. Just go ahead and push the Spurs to the conference finals already, man. This Portland team's not touching them. Whoever they play in the next round is not touching them. Wemby just shooting 5 for 6 from 3 in his first playoff game alone is insane. No crazy rebound numbers or total stat stuffer yesterday from Wemby, but just the shit he was doing if you watch that game, man. Like top of the key, dribble, fastest spin move I've ever seen a 7'6" guy create. And then he's just already at the cup once he turns his head around because that's how long his body is. He's hitting like a double cross fadeaway threes in the corner. Like he's just moving like a 7'6" guy that you put all the attributes at 99 on a guy in 2K. That's what I thought when I first watched him really go off, and that's what I think every game I watch Wemby and the Spurs. He's just that good. Spurs crowd was unbelievable. You have that here. Um, just fun times in San Antonio, man.
Yeah, that was a blast. He had 12 points at the end of the first. It was like 12-27 to start off. So he started off hot. Was not phased by a playoff atmosphere at all. Now Portland's not going to be able to do much to do anything with him anyway. So I think that stat line that you were spouting off there is going to be pretty regular for him in this series. But it was very exciting to see, and like the crowd, and they had the color coordination for the Fiesta Spurs and everything. Like if that's the environment we're getting for the entirety of this series and this playoff run for San Antonio, that's what I was most excited about. Like once it's game, you're saying conference finals, game 3, San Antonio, Oklahoma City in San Antonio could be a really special thing. Just that kind of series, I think, could be special. Even if it's San Antonio, Denver, like game 1, like there's just going to be so many checkpoints for Wemby to hit and this Spurs team to hit that I'm excited to see throughout this playoff run. But the fans are going to be ready to bring it. The Spurs young team was not fazed by the playoff atmosphere or anything that Portland was throwing at them. So I'm just really excited to see more of a Wemby playoff basketball as we go on.
Yeah, it's just awesome, man. Like, yeah, I can't really put anything else on it. I mean, he just won the DPOY too when we started the pod. So shout out to Wemby for winning Defensive Player of the Year, youngest player to ever do it. It's funny that this has been his lowest lowest blocks per game since he's entered the league, and still won the DPOY. So yeah, it's a cool story. They have young guys for days. De'Aaron Fox, is a piece they can move if they need to, or keep around because he's been great for them. So, world's just kind of in the palm of Wemby and the Spurs' hands right now, and watch out rest of the NBA landscape, because this guy is good. He is young, and he is 7'6".
Nothing more to say.
So that's where we're at in all the playoff series. Jake, I know you're gonna hop off here and throw on this Cavs game that just started, but any other stories we missed or things you want to touch on?
No, I think we covered it, man. It was a fun start to the weekend. We'll see how if these first round series get competitive, or if we're gonna if we got to clear. It feels like to me, Dunny, outside of this Orlando Detroit surprise here, we've known who the best 8 teams in the league are for quite a while now. And yeah. As much as I love the first round and just seeing playoff basketball again, once we get to these semifinals, when we get to the final 8, I think we're going to see everything you want from a basketball series game. The NBA, all of that is going to come true, because it's shaping up. It doesn't matter if it's Cleveland and Detroit or Orlando, if it's New York and Boston, if it's Detroit, if it's Denver and San Antonio, and say Luka's back and it's the Lakers and OKC, like those are 4 heavyweight bouts that I don't think we've seen in years past, honestly. Like you can't say there are 4 solid series just like that, where you could make a case for each of the teams to come out of their respective conferences. So I'm excited, but I think this first round is I think we still got a couple surprises in this first round. The LA Houston, what's the one you're looking, like, besides our own teams? Like, what are you looking forward to the most? I guess I think it's LA Houston, because what happens with this Durant saga, what happens with this Luka saga, and just the fact that one of those teams gets through, they get OKC, and if they're fully healthy and rolling, like, can they push that team? So that's what's interesting to me.
Yeah, it's got to be them, just because the amount of star power that's just on the sideline there, and both teams just desperately like waiting for those updates. That's got to be there. And then, I mean, it wouldn't have been my pick at all, but the fact that Orlando took game 1, like, we gotta.
Now it's appointment TV, right? Like,
yeah, my eyes are all over that series.
They're alone in the Wednesday window before Lakers Rockets. So
yeah,
that's gonna be fun.
The heart palpitations of Orlando fans are going at every Paolo dribble right now. So everything's through a magnifying glass with the Orlando fans, just making sure there's no screw ups or any of that, because what a polarizing team this weekend, and then they stole game one. So yeah, Houston, Lakers, Orlando, Detroit. That's what I'm most locked in on after, my own fandom series here in Boston. But that's going to do it for another episode of Happy Hour Hoops, guys. Go follow Trainwreck Sports on all socials. Subscribe to the YouTube Trainwreck Sports. Follow us on all socials at Happy Hour Hoops 1. And subscribe to our YouTube as well. We hope you guys enjoy these playoffs, and we will talk to you guys